Thank you, Bob. You know, they say that all good things must come to an end. I'm sorry to say that we are losing the chairman of this committee, Greg Harper, and the ranking member, Bob Brady, because it's the greatest example of how both sides of the aisle can work together. And this has been one of the great treats of this experience that I've had in Congress, that we have been able to work together. So thank you both very much. My message is quite simple. Time's up. Time is finally up for members of Congress who think that they can sexually harass and get away with it. They will no longer be able to slink away with no one knowing that they have harassed. There will be transparency, and members will be held accountable. They will be held accountable because they will pay back the U.S. Treasury if they sexually harass and there's a settlement or an action taken in court. They will pay back either in a lump sum, or they will pay back by having their wages garnished, their thrift savings plans garnished, and if necessary, their Social Security garnished. Time's up for staff members who think that they can sexually harass and get away with it. They too will be held accountable. And time's up for all of those who somehow thought that victims could be ignored. They will not be ignored anymore. Victims now will be able to say that they have counsel, that they are not going to go into mediations where they are by themselves and the harasser is represented by House counsel. They are no longer going to be subject to mandatory mediation or cooling off periods or non-disclosure agreements unless they want the non-disclosure agreement. We want to thank the 1,500 former staff members of Congress who wrote a letter to us, who made the case all too clear that sexual harassment in Congress was a huge problem and one that finally had to be addressed. And for all the interns and fellows in Congress who had nowhere to go, they now have a place to which they can file claims if they are sexually harassed as well. We also are on the House side making sure that every member and every staff member every single year is going to be subject to a training program to avoid sexual harassment altogether. Now, this bill isn't perfect, but that's part of what the legislative process is about. And we have decided to get this on the books, to change the system that was woefully inadequate, and then come back next year. And I'm delighted to say that Congressman Byrne and I are going to introduce a measure that will require that members also be held personally responsible for any violations of Title VII of the Civil Rights Act.